He's the voiceover studio engineer of the Stars in Los Angeles, California, a Virginia Tech grad with a knowledge of recording studios unmatched in his field. He's a voice actor from Buffalo, New York, with 30 years experience in recording studios and behind the mic. He solves people's home voiceover studio problems in the blink of an eye. Together, there's no studio problem they can't solve, and they'll do it for you tonight. Welcome to East West Audio Body Shop. Now, live from a basement in Buffalo and an office in L.A., here are Dan Leonard and...
Hi, I'm Dan Leonard in the East.
And I'm George Whittam in the West.
And together we are East West Audio Body Shop. In perfect sync that time. Good evening. We're here in the Don LaFontaine. Yeah, we have a live audience. Hey, everybody.
There they are.
Wow.
Hi, live audience.
Yeah. High production values tonight.
And there's Aric, who's the lab administrator operating it. Thanks for helping with this.
All right. Well, we're in the Don LaFontaine SAG Foundation Voiceover Lab here at the SAG Foundation building. Well, it's the SAG AFTRA building now. They've actually changed the sign.
Yeah, they did. It's for real.
So this is a wonderful facility. You designed and built this.
Well,
what went into this?
The
Why?
SAG Foundation became the home of the Don LaFontaine voiceover lab. It was a combination of Paul Pape and Joe Cipriano's brainchild, my designing, and it just all came together. Paul shopped around, looked for places that were nice enough to want to host a facility like this. And he's going to come on a little later and tell you guys more about his involvement and how this place came to be. But it just was fortunate that there was a space available in the SAG Foundation that was the right size to put a studio in, and things just fell together very quickly. And the studio came to fruition in under a year from concept to opening the doors, which is pretty amazing if you've ever done anything in commercial construction and all that. And what has to happen is pretty remarkable. Yeah. But I designed the layout with the other founders and the other advisory board to try to come up with something that felt like a classroom, but still sounded and looked like a studio. Mm-hmm. And as I kept coming up with designs, and Paul and Joe would look at our design and go, it still doesn't feel like a classroom. It's more like a studio. You can't really see into both booths. And so we kept massaging. We probably did like 8 to 10 layouts until we figured out the floor plan. And it's a really conducive place to learn. It's a comfortable place to come and work. Zero pressure. Right. It's completely free for SAG-AFTRA members. So, they can come here and work whenever they find the time. They can schedule in time to come in and work. And they can come in and take classes taught by established voiceover actors, not just coaches, but people that you're hearing on TV and the radio like every day in movies. So it's just really a unique space. There's nothing like this that I'm aware of in the world where it's built specifically for the voiceover business and you get such an amazing amount of resources. Yeah,
except my basement.
Your basement's going to be pretty cool eventually. It's not bad right now, but it's going to get better.
It's a mess right now. We'll try. No. Every time I come in here, I'm inspired, and some of the designs that you've done, I'm like, well, I can do this down here in my basement. Anyway, but let's take another shot here of the classroom part of this. Mm-hmm. You can see that it's acoustically designed, and the more people in it, of course, the deader it gets.
Right.
Otherwise you get this huge echo in here. But,
yeah, we have acoustical panels from Auralex surrounding two of the 3 back walls. Right off camera you can't see, but there's curtains on the other wall because there was existing windows, and we had to curtain those windows to keep the echo down. So the room is designed to be have as little echo as possible. Right. And because it does double as a control room, we had to have it sound pretty even and not too echoey or resonant in here. So if we are going to mix something or have something finished for a final product, we can do that. Right. We don't do that much here. It's really not meant to be a production house. Right. This is meant to be a place for people to learn and learn voice acting, the craft of voice acting, as well as the technology of voice acting.
Of which surrounds us everywhere. I mean, if you have a 416, it's got to be.
Broadcast just
That's
dropped.
Right.
I just restarted the broadcast.
You just restarted the broadcast?
I glanced over.
No, it's still on here.
No. I just had to restart it. So sorry, everybody. We don't really know how much bandwidth we have available. I did a test, and we have 48 megabits of upload, which is really, really fast. but it still just dropped. So it's the X factor of doing the show on location. We never really know what we're going to get. So sorry, everybody. We're back.
It's like a box of chocolates.
Yeah. It's a big improv going on here.
Yeah, it's always an improv every week. You know, some weeks it's 2 tin cans and a string, and other weeks it's
I liked your analogy to watching a NASCAR race where you want to see the accident, but as long as everybody gets out and
I'm
walks,
okay, I'm all right.
Waves that you get out of the car, it's okay.
That's pretty much what it's like on our show. But I've taught a class in here. We did a seminar here a couple of years ago, and it's a wonderful facility for teaching. It's a classroom, you know. And then of course you've got the booth back here where everybody can try and do their thing. And I haven't actually seen anybody do any how it's voiceovers being taught in here. But obviously it can be. I mean, we were talking technology when we were here before, but
usually in most cases, the coach will stand here and speak to the classroom, and then when they do on mic work, you walk back here into the main studio,
right,
which you'll see later on when we switch to those cameras for the second half. But it's just it's a great place to learn and to teach in too. I think that's what I hope it to be.
Yeah. What sort of resources does it need to really bring it to the next level that you're talking about?
Well, money. It's money. It's this is a nonprofit organization. It's completely funded on donation, and Paul and Joe are on the steering committee, and they have a huge job, and a lot of that is just keeping the funding up. There's a golf tournament tomorrow. There's all sorts of things that go on in this facility to keep the funding keep it going. There's the ongoing cost of paying our lab administrator because it needs to be staffed.
Right.
We do have engineers that run the studio. They have to be paid and staffed. They're on payroll. So beyond the cost of operating the facility, the electric bill in here has got to be pretty significant.
Yeah, just for the air conditioning.
The air conditioning is quite significant. So, those are the main ongoing costs. But we're still working on recouping the initial costs of the build. It's about a $500,000 facility.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of it you don't see. A lot of it's inside the walls and these super duper heavy duty fire doors, the size doors.
Yeah, the walls are. There's a lot of mass to these things.
Yeah, these walls are all double walls. All the windows are double. Yeah, it's.
You have to keep the sound of Los Angeles out of here.
Yeah,
it's.
Well, luckily, if you hadn't been in this building, now you guys you're here.
If there's a nuclear blast in California somewhere, this is where I want to be.
Yeah, this might not be a bad because it is. We are like at least 50 feet from the outside world in the middle of this building. It's like a bunker.
Right.
We're very far from the outside world, so keeping the noise from the outside wasn't a big problem. It was really keeping the noise from all the adjacent suites, the upstairs neighbors, downstairs.
Right.
That's where we really had to. That's where a lot of the soundproofing came in.
Right.
But we're lucky. The only thing you might ever hear is maybe a vacuum cleaner out there in the hallway through the window.
Right.
But that's in the classroom. So.
Which is technically minus 40 dB.
Right. That's how loud a vacuum cleaner?
Somebody once said, well, what is minus 40 dB? It's somebody vacuuming in the other room. So is that really quiet? And that's when we decided to raise the standards to minus 50.
Exactly.
And so anytime I hear a vacuum cleaner, it's like, I remember that's what that's about. That's what maybe did they teach any technology in here?
Oh, yeah.
Or only when they drag me out here?
Well, no. If sometimes I come in and I teach classes I call the home studio reality check.
Right.
And it's what you would think. It's people come in who've never considered the need to have a home studio, and I just do a 2-hour class on what it takes to have a home studio.
And they come in here and go, it's got to be like this?
Right. Well, that's the thing. They come in here, and then they go, oh, wow, this is way more than I ever. And I'm like, no. Just this is the ultimate. This is, commercial studio. I talk about a home studio, how big it needs to be, how quiet it needs to be, that kind of thing. So it does not, I try not to intimidate anybody with the home studio reality check. And when they walk out, they usually feel more confident about, that little closet that little linen closet, that may actually work for my home studio. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll talk a little bit about some home studio technique in a minute. We've got Paul Pape will be joining us in a little while and tell us a little bit more about the studio and some of the stuff that he does. It's kind of interesting. And we've got a live studio audience. My mom is here. It's amazing.
Yay.
All right, we'll be right back after this, so stay right where you are.
El Dorado Recording Services.
Randy Thomas chiming in.
This is Alex Verdi.
Hi, this is Bill Ratner in Los Angeles.
Hi, this is Scott Rummel here in Yorba Linda, California.
Hi, my name is Rick Wasserman.
Hi, this is Tom Kane.
Hi, my name is Vanessa Marshall.
Hi, my name is Zurich.
Hi, I'm Mary McKittrick.
Hi, I'm Peter McHugh.
I was turned on to George by none other than Don LaFontaine, who always swore by his health.
George is absolutely awesome.
ISDN, Source Connect, Phone Patch, FTP, you name it, George has set it up.
It's really the best thing I've ever done for myself. I feel free, safe, fearless, like anything is possible in here.
Unless you like to look for opportunities to waste time, call George.
And he did all of that, long distance over the phone and the internet.
I'm very happy with George, and I cherish
I've got my travel kit. I got my Source Connect. I've got it all going on, thanks to you.
Thanks, George. You make it easy.
And we're back here on East West Audio Body Shop, and I'm in the this is the vocal booth here. This is the big vocal booth in here. There's a smaller singular booth over there, but we wanted to go inside here and give you an idea of what it sounds like in here, what it looks like in here, and what really good microphones look like. But we'll talk about that in a second. But my guest right now, is Eric Shuford, who is the administrator here at the Don LaFontaine SAG Foundation Voiceover Lab.
That is a lot to say.
It is.
Yeah.
And what's your job as the administrator here?
Well, my job, I've been entrusted with sort of being the ambassador of the lab. So overseeing its operation on a day-to-day basis and ensuring that we get the word out about the lab, schedule voiceover sessions for a lot of our actors, orientations, get people really aware and up to speed on how the lab works and the equipment, and just helping folks get their voiceover on, if you will.
Yeah. What's the typical day like in here?
We run the studio from Tuesday through Friday right now, and we're going from 10 a.m. until about 5 p.m. So it's hustle and bustle, a lot of people coming in and out. Our numbers are expanding on a weekly basis. A lot of people that are seasoned and have done a lot of voiceover work, some that are just newbies, and we're just trying to get them up to speed, and that's been working out really well also. So it's a nice mixture of people really eager to learn the art of voiceover and really expand their opportunities as actors.
Yeah. What's your background in this?
Yeah, I come from radio, actually.
Yeah,
so
me too.
Yeah, really? Okay. So I spent about 14 years here in Los Angeles radio. I was a production director at several stations here in Los Angeles, so I did a lot of voiceover work, engineering sessions, a lot of promos, sponsorships, commercials, imaging, things like that.
Lots of donuts.
Lots of donuts, yes. Tons of those. Tons of those in the process. And I had a little on-air gig for a while at a couple of stations. I have a music background also. I was a recording artist, and I've had some records that have come out, and I've toured the country, performing and things like that too. So pretty extensive entertainment career.
George is now adjusting the microphones here.
In the camera. I want them in the
Yeah, get them in the shot here, because there we go. Yeah, these are
Got to have the Manleys in there.
these are manly mics.
They are man. They're quite
they're
manly.
manly mics.
I feel very manly behind these mics.
Yes. Yeah. No. When George and I came in here this afternoon, we're like, well, I want to do a demonstration on mic technique, and it's like, do we have any like really good mics? And he's like, oh, we got the 416s and stuff. And I'm like, well, wait a second, we got some Manleys. I'm like, get them out here.
Yeah, that was a nice call. Nice call.
So, and as you can see, these are magnificent. These are tube mics.
Yes.
Now, tube mics you wouldn't normally use. In big professional studios, you use them.
Right.
And if I know if Cliff Zellman's watching, we warmed them up for half an hour.
Yes.
We did. So we had to make sure that they were nice and warm and working really well. And how do they sound? I mean, George, you got to look in the chat room, see if anybody's saying that this sounds absolutely amazing.
The only complaint I had was my dad saying, "Turn off the music." The bumper playing.
Oh.
Right. So we had some background then. Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, do you work with the equipment in here and do the setups and
a little bit? Yeah, I work with the bringing people into the solo booth. I did some sessions last week in the main booth, so I kind of operate in both booths that we have here. And we're just look, it's great, incredible facility here. I'm really excited about being part of this whole process, and it's a great experience. And the equipment is top notch, I think, and it's been really helpful.
I agree. Well, thanks for coming in and
by all means
and showing us around and. All right. Well, right now I want to do a little bit of a demonstration on mic technique. Because everybody's always asking about, well, how am I supposed to place my microphone? Well, since I have the greatest microphones in the world, as a matter of fact, maybe I'll turn the camera a little. Sorry, I didn't need to blind you. Mike, if we've got really good microphones, and I want to demonstrate that you can actually, is this a good picture, George? Got it centered here? Okay, good.
Looks good.
When you use a really good studio condenser mic, you really shouldn't have to have a pop screen. Now, I use one and everybody uses one, but if you have it placed properly and you talk into it properly, usually you won't have any popped P's. Now, there's a number of things that go on with one of these mics. First off, it's a tube condenser mic, as we said. It's very, very sensitive. And George and I were playing with them earlier, and it's like, well, I don't have to give them too much gain. They'll pick me up from a good distance. If you've ever been in a professional studio, you've noticed that they don't put it right in front of you. First off, where's the mic supposed to be? Mic should ideally be a little higher than eye level. Usually I say like at the bridge of your nose. This one I've got a little bit higher because this is a really sensitive mic.
And we're on camera, so we didn't want to block your face.
That's right. Well, that's part of it. But it still sounds fabulous, though, right? So when you set it up, I usually like to hang it. The reason I hang it is so you can have your copy right here, and you're talking in a normal, natural way, the way you would normally read. Otherwise, a lot of people put it on a desk, and then they're going to put the copy up here, and then they're talking over the top of it. This is the way you should have it set up. If you use a pop screen, should be 3 inches between the pop screen and the mic. So you can measure 3 inches. And every morning, I actually take a ruler, like a photographer will take a measure, a measuring tape and measure the focal length. I'll usually measure all these distances to make sure they're all right. And I've got a line on the floor where I stand, so I know exactly I'm going to be in the exact same place I was the day before. So if I'm doing an audiobook or something, the ambiance is going to be the same. My mic placement is going to be exactly the same. And it's something that you really need to concentrate on when when you have a home studio. Some people have to break their studio down because it's also their living room. Hopefully not their bathroom. If any of you are recording in your bathroom, we need to talk. But if you have to take your studio down, you've got to make sure you set it back up exactly the way it was before. That means marking the floor, not with a Sharpie, but maybe with some masking tape or something, so you know where all the placements are supposed to be. So it should be upside down, 3 inches between the pop screen and the mic, and then you should be at least 5 to 7 inches away from the pop screen, making you at least almost a foot away from the microphone. And by doing that, you're not going to address the diaphragm. Now, in these Manleys, you can see the diaphragm real clearly. In some of them, there's a lot more mesh in it you can't really see. These have really, really nice diaphragms in them. You don't talk directly into it, because if you talk directly into it and start saying, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, you're going to start popping your P's. So the way you avoid that is by not having it in front of you. You don't talk directly into the diaphragm itself. Condenser mics are designed to actually hear like the human ear, so they should actually be at the distance and the height of the human ear when you're talking to somebody, because you're not trying to sound like, you're talking 2 inches from their eardrum. You're trying to talk to them like you're having a normal conversation, like I'm having with you right now, only I can't hear you, which is probably a good thing. Anyway, so this is set like this. Copy is here like that. Now, a big mistake that a lot of people make is they cause a problem, what we call proximity effect. To explain it in minor physics principles, lower frequencies need more energy to go through the air. You've got your air molecules. This one bounces against this one, and this one goes, hey, why are you pushing me for? And sound waves go through the air by air molecules pushing against each other. Lower frequencies, the lower range of our voice, needs more energy to go through the air. So if you're farther away from the microphone, those lower frequencies can dissipate and will be at the same level with the rest of the higher frequencies, the mid-range and the higher range of your voice. But if you get closer to the microphone, the closer you get to it, you'll notice that I'm talking exactly the same, but that my voice is also getting a lot deeper, and I'm not changing the tone of my voice at all. The lower frequencies don't get to dissipate, and it makes your voice a lot deeper. Some people say, well, that sounds really good in my headphones. Who cares what you sound like in your headphones? It's who's the person on the other end, the end user of your voice, that's really going to care. Now, if they want you to sound like somebody who's got a deep resonating voice, maybe you can use that, but that's not the thing in voiceover, and that's a big mistake a lot of people make. We get a lot of demos from people and saying, listen to my audio, and I go, okay, back off the mic about 12 inches. And they're like, why? I'm got to talk into the mic. It's not an SM57. It's not a stage mic where you're holding it up to your mouth, and you're not talking half an inch from somebody's eardrum. Normal distance, and that's my tip of the week.
Thank you, Dan. Can you hear me in the other room?
I can, actually.
I was going to add another thing. The thing about a lot of these studio condenser mics tend to be on the bright side, too. So if you're not speaking straight into the diaphragm, but the mic is a little bit higher or maybe off to the side a little bit, it takes away some of the sibilance.
Yep.
So that's another good reason, not beyond just worrying about popping. Being off axis a little bit more can help with sibilance problems too. So I just thought I'd throw that in there.
Yeah, well, and there was a forum going on this week. Somebody was talking about sibilance and the answers that people were giving about how to get rid of sibilance. If somebody has a sibilant voice, I generally tend to think it's because they're overemphasizing their S's and they're not relaxing and they're tensing up. And some people just have a naturally sibilant voice. The best way to really deal with that is really to be slightly off axis and a little bit more off the mic and give it a little bit more gain, and usually that will help. And if it's just really terrible, there's always engineering.
So we will be right back after these words.
This is East West Audio Body Shop with Dan Leonard in the East and George Whittam in the West. Now back to two characters that didn't have anything else better to do, Dan and George.
And we're back here on East West Audio Body Shop at the Don LaFontaine SAG Foundation Voiceover Lab. I actually remembered it all in one breath. We were very lucky to have a special guest with us tonight, and he is Paul Pape. Welcome to East West Audio Body Shop.
Thank you.
Now, you had a lot to do with the construction of this, but let's go back further in time and talk about your good friend Don LaFontaine. I hear that he was the best guy. I mean, aside from being a great voice actor, that he was just a wonderful, marvelous human being. Tell us about him.
I really, Dan, I believe that's why this facility exists, because of the person that Don was, not just the talent that he was. I had the good fortune to be friends with him for over 30 years, and we were pretty close friends for most of that time. And he was, before he was the legend, he had been a recording engineer. He also worked as a vice president at Paramount. He was the voice of Paramount. He owned a trailer company out of an old carriage house in New York City. He and a fellow named Floyd Peterson that came out of NBC. So Don had a long history of being on the technical side of it as well and producing before he ever became a voiceover
And he was
artist.
a writer, too.
And he was a writer as well, and he wrote his own copy. In fact, his career in voiceovers began when he was supposed to do and a voiceover artist rather did not show up to do a trailer for a picture called Gunfighters of Casa Grande. And they said, Don, why don't you do it? You know, you wrote the copy. Don had done the scratch track, so he did it. And that was the start of it, and started building from there. But even then, he always felt that was just a sidelight. Boy, was he ever wrong.
Yeah, apparently.
You know. But when he passed away in 2008, in September, he had mentored so many people, so many of today's top artists, that many of us decided that we needed to do something to honor him. So we were looking around. We had a couple of different ideas. And I kind of had an idea that maybe we ought to do something that really reflected his personality of giving back to the voiceover community. And I said, well, what if we had an opportunity to build a facility where people could come in and work on their craft? It would be so, and he would love something like that. And then Joe Cipriano signed on right away, and George signed on as designer right away. And I had a former relationship here with the SAG Foundation. And we brought the idea to them, and they embraced it immediately. We went out. The voiceover community actively raised about $250,000. Foundation matched that with about another $250,000 of their own. And here we are. We have this wonderful facility that actors can come in and use at no cost if they're in the union. Even non-union actors are able to use it. A great amount of the equipment that you guys have been talking about, have seen here, has been donated. These Manley microphones, Don used Manley cardioid references. That was his microphone of choice. But we also have wonderful stuff here from Sennheiser and Shure and a lot of other manufacturers and a company called Broadcast Supply Worldwide. Mm-hmm. We're generous donors of a lot of equipment, as well as a lot of the people that came in sponsored everything from chairs to everything. But as George said before, we have an ongoing obligation to keep it going. We have grants from the IACF, which is the Industry Advancement Cooperative Fund, and they give us money that helps us pay for our talent. We also raise a certain amount. It takes we have to raise over $100,000 a year to keep it going and keep it operating, and we're doing a pretty good job of it. And we've become a real good example for the rest of a really good example for the rest of the industry as to how the voiceover community can look after its own and encourage its own.
I totally agree. And being a president of a community board, raising money is not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, especially in a difficult economy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you yourself, you've been in the business for quite a while, and you do some unique stuff. But what are some of the? We'll get into some of the more unique things that you do. But what are some of the things that you've been doing over the years?
Well, I started out in the ADR field in voiceovers, and then eventually expanded from there. ADR continues to be my bread and butter, but I understand you want to talk about that in a little while more specifically about that field. But I've been doing voiceovers for I think I'm 28 years now. I eventually expanded. I do promos and trailers, but a good deal of commercials, narrations. I've gotten around. I'm right now one of the voices for the Obama campaign, so I'm doing a lot of the voices for them. And, thanks, yeah. Political spots are interesting because I'm fortunate to make a pretty good living in the business, but I don't think I would do political ads if I didn't believe in the candidate. I find there's a responsibility to the message. So I find them to be an interesting segment. And so I happen to believe in this president and his policies. We're not here to get into a political conversation, but whatever it is, I think in that arena, it's important to do what you believe in. Mm-hmm. It's not just about the money, not for me.
Right. Yeah. Tell me one thing that you learned from Don LaFontaine that really helps you with working in the business.
Wow. You're going to need another show for
that.
Well,
give me just one little anecdote.
Don never looked at anybody that I know of in this business as competition. He felt there was room for everybody. He gave and was far more generous than he's even known for. He did things that people are not even aware of. He gave so many people their start, this infamous ride in his limo, where people would go around and ride with him. The limo was actually a very practical idea, Dan, because he was doing so many spots in a day. He literally couldn't find parking at the various studios, and it was hanging him up, so he had to so he could be dropped off and have a car. And that became a very famous tool to take people around so they could watch with him, and it was a great way to go around during the day. And he always liked to do things with a little bit, he liked living large too. He enjoyed it. Yeah, he was pretty excited about that. But he taught me what he really taught me was when you feel you have nothing left to give in this world, you got to keep on giving because it's going to come back to you in ways that you can't even imagine. His generosity and the example he set, and that's a very blanket statement, but I could talk about it in so many specific areas. But it's just like, don't be afraid to give, especially to the people you think you might be in competition with. Yeah. Because they're going to be your best friends, and they're going to be the people who support you. And if you're really at ease and you're good at what you do and you're at ease with who you are as a human being, it's okay. Somebody's got to bring up the people behind us. If those of us that are making a living don't take the time to share that knowledge, then, our art dies.
That's true.
And we have a responsibility. And that's what the lab represents. And that's the part of Don we feel we've been working hard to capture here. So.
Yeah. Well, I always say that, we really aren't competitors in this business because we're all snowflakes. Mm-hmm. We're all totally unique. We all bring something different to the table. And I thought like Don LaFontaine. I just don't talk like him.
Yeah. Yeah, very few do.
I know. I do remember meeting him once, and somebody asked a question, and they was, Mr. LaFontaine, what's your favorite word? And he went, Schwarzenegger.
Yeah. He would. There are a lot of people that have that deep voice that he has, but he would be the first to tell you it's not that you have a voice. It's what you do with it.
What you do with it.
And he was a habitual reader. He loved books, and he really believed in the power of the written word, and he thought people should invest themselves. In between sessions, it was nothing for him to sit and read poetry. He always had it right next to his microphone. He believed in the power of every individual word, and being a writer himself,
right?
He could bring that part, his way to it. I think that added a lot to the depth of the way he was able to express himself.
He also worked with Orson Welles too, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
When I learned that, I'm like, oh, now I see the connection there.
As a producer, he worked with him.
Yeah.
Not as a voiceover artist, but he produced him. Yeah. Although you don't really direct Orson.
Yeah.
You just sit there and genuflect and whatever. And Don learned that quickly and did a great job, and they got along great. So, but no, he had a chance to work with some really extraordinary talent beforehand. He got to see it from the other side.
Yeah.
I got a question from the chat room. Somebody asked, how did Don coordinate all of those limo rides with the talent? I think he wasn't doing it. It was the agent, right?
Well, the agent, but he had an assistant, and then his driver all those years was a fellow named Clinton, and Clinton was also kind of scheduled a lot of things and kind of ran interference for him. And Don, although Don kind of broke that schedule all the time, if he found somebody that just, come on, you're coming with me, and he would do that. And one of his agents, Vanessa, loves to tell the story about she had her son in the office one day. She didn't know what she was going to do with him for the day. He was just a kid. So Don said, he's going with me. So he spent the whole day with Don in the limo going around from place to place, and came back. The kid, had a grin you couldn't wipe off his face there.
That's such a great question because that's something I've always wondered, but I never had a chance to ask you.
Yeah. I don't think he had any set way of doing it. He wasn't real regimented. It just like, come on in. He just worked. That's how he worked it out. He had an amazing life. I don't know how he did everything he did, but he managed to do it, and he did it with incredible ease. He just, some people, they grab the brass ring in life. They just somehow they get it.
Yeah.
And this guy got it. He got it.
Well, I'm glad you were involved in building this facility, and we're really appreciative. But you do something, and we talked about this, at the outset. You do ADR. Now, it stands for a couple of things: additional dialogue recording, automatic dialogue replacement,
automated dialogue,
dialogue replacement.
That's what it's actually. Yeah.
What is ADR? And so, I mean, a lot of people, all of our audience is generally voice actors, and they've heard the term, but what does it really involve?
Every film, every television show, even commercials on occasion, need special vocal needs that go outside the principal dialogue that's being shot. On a film, if you're on the set and you're shooting principal dialogue, you can't have a lot of background information. Right. So ADR, in a lot of ways, started out as adding in that layer of background sound, wallow they would call it, or loop, or it struck the, I don't actually know where the term looping came from, but it's still called that. But back then, sound wasn't as developed as it is today. So it was just background voices in a restaurant and clinking glasses that they would Foley in and all that. But it has developed dramatically to the point where sound technology has developed to the point where you really need to know what you're doing. It takes actors that are able to improvise because you have voice replacement, you have voice matching, not just the background stuff. You have individual featured voices. For instance, I did the movie I, Robot. I don't know if you know the movie.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Will Smith.
Yeah. And in there, for instance, his grandmother has a new robot, the new NS5 robot. And I actually played the voice of her robot. And that's an ADR job. But what was interesting about it is they filmed us speaking those lines and then CGI'd our mouths into the robot's faces. So that's an example of where ADR can get really creative. But basically, we are the ones that add in all the special voices into a production that fills out the element. It could be a voice on a phone. It could be police calls. It could be any number of things. But you'll spend a day playing many, many characters. So it requires kind of a special skill set. Mm-hmm. You've got to be able to improvise very well and very quickly. You've got to be able to do sync. Mm-hmm. You'll be sometimes replacing somebody's voice. That's one of the unfortunate parts of the job for the actor that, say, is a day player and they don't quite cut it performance-wise. Well, they have guys like us in the back of their heads, and we're going to come in and we're going to sync our voices to their mouth and give the performance that they were unable to give, unfortunately. So when they gather the family around to watch at home, it's my voice coming out of their mouth, so which is one of the reasons I'm glad it's sort of anonymous.
But you're not allowed to tell people you did that.
No. But we typically, I don't want to be known for that. I've actually been in an uncomfortable situation where I've had to replace a friend's voice at and I'd rather it would be anonymous. But that is just one of the things that we do. That's not done all the time. Most of the time, actors pull it off and do their own performance. But we create all those vocal effects in and around and create a whole vocal environment. And it's very demanding in today's world, like, with pictures like The Avengers, which I worked on. I just did G.I. Joe 2. The sound, being in 5171, whatever it is, they need it coming from all over, and it needs to be accurate. And if you do speak, what comes out of your mouth has to be accurate. So we get into a lot of research. I specialize in a lot of military stuff and a lot of things like that, cops and that kind of thing. So I'm lucky in that the kind of thing I specialize in gets used a lot. So it's a nice niche in the business, but it's a difficult niche, mainly because the skill set's so unique that it gets very insular because the people that can do it stick together. Mm-hmm. These stages are very expensive. Usually we come into it deep in the post-production process. They're really on a dime. They're on a release date. They need people that can deliver on the set and do it quickly, improvise and create what they need without. Sometimes you need to draw attention to it. Sometimes you don't. They need to read the perspective of the picture. So it's kind of a very, very, very unique area of voiceovers, which is it's a great living if you can get into it.
Nice work if you can get it.
Nice work if you can get it. Well, almost like anything in the business, but if you can get it and you've got the chops, great. There's room for everybody if you're willing to go at it. And when we designed the lab, the monitor right behind us, one of the things that I insisted on is that we have monitors inside because ADR actors will work in a booth here to picture. And that's another thing. Unlike copy, where you're just reading copy, for promos and trailers now, we don't even really need to see picture anymore because with Pro Tools and everything, you just give me my timing, and I'll slide in what they need. They might show it to me as a reference up front. With ADR, you still have to work the picture because you need to create that environment live as it's happening. It's not canned the way it used to be. It rings too false with today's sound.
So there's a lot of work with mic placement and distance and proximity and things like that.
They get really creative. There's times I've been working where there's 4 or 5 mics going on at once.
Right.
Or I just worked on a picture picture the other day that has that had for 5.1 had 5 different mics all contained in one contraption.
Wow.
With 5 XLR plugs running out of it, and they had us spaced all around it, so that when you go to the theater, you'll hear it here, you'll hear it here, you'll hear it here, and here, and it'll already play. The mixers will love that, because it's already done for them. They don't have to pan it or push it anywhere.
Waiting for an Academy Award category for ADR.
Wouldn't that be nice? Voiceovers in general. I mean, the Emmys has it. But I think that voiceover artists, Don was one of the people who actually started to give voiceover artists some visibility. They've been in the shadows for a long time, and still for the most part are. I think more recognition for this craft is overdue, and I look forward to seeing that happen.
One question that was bound to come in from the chat room is how do you end up in a loop group? What is the process? I know it's one of the most difficult sections of voiceover to get in. Obviously living in LA would be one thing you check off the list, right? Living in LA. Yeah. But
they do it in New York too, a little bit in Chicago, but most of it's done here. Yeah. Of course, the $1 million question: how do you get into voiceovers? How do you get into a loop group? I think we're all snowflakes, and we all find our way in different ways. Make yourself known. It's a hard thing to go out and study, even. It's the kind of a thing, if you should have your improv skills definitely up to speed. You should be able to really think on your feet, be able to play a lot of different characters, understand that you have to do a lot of research. You will work harder in ADR than you probably will in any other field in terms of your preparation and what you have to do. However, if you should be able to crack that membrane, either via a producer that's willing to put you on the job, or you get to know one of the coordinators. If you hit that stage and you're able to show it, they are looking for people that can pick it up. They always want somebody that's fresh because, as I said, it's a special skill set, and it's one of those things like you sort of either got it or you don't. Whereas other areas of voice, yes, sir.
Does being in the on-camera actor first here in LA a big help? Just because you're around the sets, you are in the environment of the production. Is that something that would be a really helpful stepping stone?
In ADR, yeah, I think anything like that makes a difference. I did come from on-camera. I had a successful on-camera career before I ventured into voiceovers. I just kind of stumbled in and got lucky, and then I was working all the time. But I would say any experience in the business is perfect. Certainly having been on a set and spending any time in front of a camera gives you an understanding of what the filmmakers are looking for in the post-production process, So, I would say that helped. A lot of the guys that I work with have all had a lot of on-camera experience as well. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, it helps to give you the perspective of what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to... I think if anybody's doing anything, they need to try every part of it to really understand how one thing fits into the other.
Yes.
And having on-camera experience will give you an idea of, proximity and all those other things that go with it. So it was probably good training.
Very good training. And I think one of the most interesting aspects of it is you might work on 3 or 4 different things. I've worked on over 130 television series now, or something like some crazy number like that. But every show is different. Every movie is different. And you walk in every week into a different world. But this is the world they live with constantly.
Right.
You're there for a day or 2 or 3 or 4. So another skill to have is to be able to adapt to their world quickly enough.
Right.
And serve their production and their needs as quickly as you can.
That's probably one of the most fun things about voiceover, when you're working with other producers and like, give me this, give me it that way. Well, okay. And the collaboration and the give and take is really what makes it so much fun.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
Well, Paul, thanks so much for coming in and joining us on East West Audio Body Shop this week. And thank you for helping getting this wonderful facility together.
Thank you. Well, you can thank your partner there, George, for making it happen physically. He did a great job.
Great.
So. All right.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
All right. We'll be right back after this. Stay tuned.
Hey, my name is Bob Ball. I'm a voice actor and host of Pop Quizzical. Sure. I hear you thinking, Bob, what is this Pop Quizzical you speak of? Well, I'll tell you. It's a fun and funny, single-themed 10 to 15-minute audio quiz. It comes out every other week right here on the internets. You know, that thing that just about everything cool flows from. Pictures of cats, videos of dogs, and yes, Pop Quizzical. It's available on iTunes and wherever fine podcasts are sold. And it's easily found, too. Go to bit.ly/popquizzical. There's also a companion website at popquizzical.com with daily quiz questions, and every Friday over on the Pop Quizzical Facebook page, it's a freebie Friday. Free stuff throughout the day. From The Muppet Show to James Bond to St. Patrick's Day, the Pop Quizzical podcast has a little bit of everything for you. Challenge your mind and your funny bone with Pop Quizzical.
Class dismissed.
This is East West Audio Body Shop with Dan Leonard in the East and George Whittam in the West. Two guys I love spending Sunday nights with.
And we're back here at East West Audio Body Shop here in the Don LaFontaine. The monitors are on the back there, George. Okay.
Right.
Good, you heard that. And while we're here around all this marvelous equipment, we need to talk about one of our guys who's our sponsor, and he provides you guys with great equipment. And that's our buddy Harlan Hogan, who is at voiceoveressentials.com. I knew it was going to come into my head eventually. You know. Anyway, but he's got great stuff over there. All you have to do is go over to voiceoveressentials.com, which you can reach, by the way, from homevoiceoverstudio.com or from
VOstudiotech.com.
So I'm going to write that down. I'm going to try to remember that.
The irony that my co-host doesn't know my own website.
Well, you keep changing it. Always go to Eldorec, but you can get there too anyway. But anyway, you can go there and look at all the marvelous products he has. Of course, the VO1A Harlan Hogan signature microphone, and the, of course, Porta Studio, the Porta Booth, and the Porta Booth Plus, and the Porta Booth Pro, which we'll be showing off at Voice 2012 this week. And so if you're going to that, come on over to our booth, and we'll show you exactly how it works. The new Porta Booth Plus works fabulous, especially with different smaller microphones and USB mics. You can have a whole studio with just an iPad and your Porta Studio, Porta Booth Pro, or Porta Booth Plus. Why did he put so many P's in there, George?
You're a voice actor. You're a professional.
That's
you
right.
Say P's.
That's right. And not pop them.
Right.
Anyway,
it works great with the Apogee mic.
It works fabulous with that. We're going to demonstrate that too. So come on down to Voice 2012, and you'll see some of the Harlan Hogan products on display and, of course, for sale there. So come on down, and we'll see them at our table, which we'll be sharing. And we'll be there. See, if you're coming to Voice 2012, which is Tuesday night, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday and Saturday night, I think they're throwing some Mickey Mouse and Goofy in there too. So anyway, but come on down and see the stuff that we've got there. But if you want to see the best stuff, the easiest stuff, the stuff that was picked for you, go over to voiceoveressentials.com and support our guy who's supporting us. That work for you, George?
Thanks, Harlan.
Yeah, thank Harlan. All right. Okay, well, we have another special guest in the studio. She's been on our show before, but never live. It's my mom.
Hi, Mom. That was Mother's Day. This is almost Father's Day.
That's true. That's next week.
Next week.
Yeah, I get to spend Father's Day with you.
Right.
And not with my kids.
Well, you'll be home for...
No, I won't be home until later that night.
Oh, that's too bad.
I'll be flying over America while they're going, gee, we sure miss Dad. Anyway, but, you've been a big influence to me because you taught me all the right stuff about, persistence and getting things done right. And you watched my career, and I, and what was it like being the mother of somebody who wanted to be in showbiz?
Well, Dan started doing a lot of amateur theatricals. You were in... Anything Goes. I remember that you were the crook. What was his name?
Moonface Martin.
Moonface Martin. He was wonderful. He stole the show. He was in the chorus of a lot of numbers. He did Fiddler on the Roof. You were the rabbi in Fiddler on the Roof.
There's a blessing for everything.
I can't remember them all, but that was fun. Then you went into radio. After college, you went into radio, and I loved just turning on the radio and hearing his voice. And then from K-Joy. K-Joy.
No, WJ. Oh,
No, it was K-Joy.
Well, in Albuquerque it was K-Joy. In Buffalo,
Buffalo was
WJY, FM 96.
WJYE, right. You went over to the PBS station, and I just loved listening. I told all my friends, listen, that voice that says, next on PBS is Nova. That's my son. And and I really enjoyed that. That was wonderful. So, but Dan started at a very early age of doing voice. There was a children's book when he was little called Gerald McBoing Boing. Maybe some of you remember that. And it was about a little boy that talked in sound effects. And he did. He talked in sound effects. So he began very, very young with his voice career.
Well, you're gonna see my presentation this week at Voice 2012.
If I can find it, yes.
You'll find it. It's at Disneyland. How can you miss it? It's down the street from you.
Oh, look, Mickey, where are you?
But I finally get my revenge on you for something. You have to wear a name tag so everybody sees what your name is. And when I'm home, now you're living out here in California, and I'm back in Buffalo where it gets cold in the winter and stuff. A lot of your friends are still back there.
Oh, many.
And as a matter of fact, I ran into a bunch of them. They were all playing canasta at the Jewish Center, and there's a huge canasta game going on there. And I was walking through, going to another office, and I'm like, oh, hi, how you doing? And they all see me. And for some reason, I keep thinking my name has been changed. My name is no longer Dan. They see me and they go, hi, how's your mother? So I think my name is How's Your Mother? So your friends miss you back home.
I know, and I miss them.
Well, you're coming to visit us soon anyway. Mm-hmm. So, but you've been on our show a couple of times, and maybe we got to get you into voiceover. Now you're looking for a good reason to stay out here in California. And, we need more.
I have a distinct handicap. I don't do freeways.
Oh.
So she's ready for the perfect at-home business.
That's right. I'll set something up in the living room. It'll be fine.
Somebody I know does studio design. You get the family and friend discount.
That's right. Well, thanks for coming all the way out here and joining us today.
Oh, this was fun.
Yeah.
I enjoyed seeing you set up. I enjoyed meeting all the studio audience as they came in.
Thank you very much.
This was fun.
All right. Well, what time is it now? Well, we're still on time here.
It's after 7.
I think we're good.
I think we're good for now.
I think we're good. I think we should wrap it up.
I think we should too.
Should I get out of here?
No, you stay right here. We got to have a shot at you, though, George.
All right. Well, you say Dan Leonard and I'll say George.
What?
No.
Who are you?
Let's go out on our usual ending.
Okay, okay. All right. In that case, by the way, we'll be back next week. We'll be from Voice 2012. We're going to be having lots of great interviews with people. There's going to be a lot of stars there, a lot of big Hollywood mucky mucks. We want to grab them and hear what they have to say. A lot of people with technology. We want to talk to some of the manufacturers and get that information out to you as to what's new in the business and stuff. And so same time next week, same place, probably really perfectly edited.
Yeah, well, this we're going to tape on Friday, so we don't do this very often. We're going to tape in advance.
Right.
And just because of logistics, as you can see today, we didn't have the best possible bandwidth, to deal with. So at a hotel, it's going to be worse. So we're going to tape Friday, and then we'll cut it together, and then on Sunday I'll play it back. So it'll be a playback show, but I'll be sitting there watching in the chat room like always.
Yep.
So we'll still have that interaction thing going on.
I'll be somewhere at 38,000 feet while it's on, so heading back home. Well, anyway, that's going to do it for us this week. I'd like to thank our studio audience for coming all the way down here and coming through the maze to actually find this place.
And without dropping crumbs along the way.
That's true. We're going to leave little business cards through the hallways, and maybe they could find their way here. But everybody got in here. Anyway, that's going to do it for East West Audio Body Shop for this week. I'm Dan Leonard, usually in the East.
And I'm George Whittam in the West.
We'll see you next week. Have a great time.
Take care, everybody.